Welcome everybody to Funeral Nation episode number 52. This is the 1 year anniversary episode of the Effin' Show. And last week we brought you 51 live at the NFDA convention. This week we are going to recap what we saw and the things that stood out to us, the things that made sense, the things that didn't make sense, and give you kind of our unbiased, unfiltered opinions of NFDA 2016. But first, Jeff, we've got a shout out to these guys up here.
Yeah, Jamie and the Fast Funding Group at C&J Financial and American Funeral Financial, they're just doing a wonderful job. It was great to see them there. They were our title sponsors, continue to dominate the industry. And so great to see Chuck and Jamie and the entire team out there.
That's right. So, with Jeff, 2016 NFDA was in Philadelphia, and you and I have chit-chatted about this just briefly for a couple minutes, so we're kind of just flying off the cuff here without any script. But in my opinion, this was the best funeral convention that I've been to since I started going to the shows in 2007. So NFDA, state shows, ICCFA. This one was number one as far as just oh boy, crush and burn. As far as just the traffic to the booths, the quality of the traffic, the expo hall. I thought everything was fantastic.
This was I've been around this industry for a while. This certainly was one of the best attended. From being at a booth and seeing people there, everyone was very, very happy. It was well attended, and frankly, it was very productive. At least, certainly for you, and it was for us.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So, some of the things that we saw while we were there, Disrupt Media and Homesteaders sponsored the social media lounge or NFDA chat room, and announced a partnership which we brought to you on Funeral Nation as well. Where Disrupt Media and Homesteaders has tapped Disrupt Media as a social media provider for their clients. So big news there. Jeff, you and I live streamed a couple different things, and you even just took one day and walked around and live streamed with a number of different vendors and sponsors of the Funeral Nation show, which was big. But on the technology side, that's what really stood out to me. And I know you have some thoughts on that with Passari.
Yeah, interesting. I think Passari has stepped up, and they are providing a total solution. I've been around this for a while. I see where it's collaborative piece between the consumer and the funeral director. And so I'm seeing them as, frankly, the ones that are leading this race, if you will. And technology-wise, they're going to be the ones I think will be betting our horses on for a collaborative piece that families can use, that funeral directors can use, and fuse this together. And so I had a great time with the Passari team there, and I think you'll see a lot more coming out of them in the future.
Fantastic. One of the other things that we saw on the technology side was there's a lot of app companies now, and you and I got a demo walkthrough together of the Black Diamond sponsor of NFDA, which is a new app that has no revenue model whatsoever, just trying to get. I think it's just a data and attention grab, honestly. But there's a lot of different apps that are out there where you kind of scratch your head and wonder why and what really drove somebody to invest that kind of money. What are your thoughts on the technology that we saw from first-time exhibitors with app products that really have never played in this arena?
Right. It's interesting you say that, because if you come back, this was probably undoubtedly the heaviest social media convention we've been to, right? Led by you and your team. The other piece of this, though, is that people are trying to breach the funeral industry and having no clue what they're doing. Yeah. And it was evident with a couple of those, like those guys. This was done several years ago. And frankly, the guy at the booth, I was a little surprised. He was actually saying, well, Facebook isn't as strong as this is. I'm like, okay, that's when I got to go. There was a few others there, but we're getting to a phase fundamentally that what you're doing with social media, especially with Disrupt and the basics, blocking and tackling, is actually captivating consumers and funeral homes.
Yeah.
So the unfortunate part is most of these new entries, from my standpoint, looking what they're doing, is they're not paying attention and getting the right folks to give them advice. They come up with a great idea. Hey, we got this thing in the bag. We'll show up at the convention. We'll throw some money around, and they're gone. In fact, we had a whole list of people, that were here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that some of those guys will be in the same space. But going back to the positive stuff, we had some pretty good winners there. Our guy Sitch, yeah, Sirius knocked it out down there, didn't
he? Sure did. We opened up the show with kind of a flash mob. So we're waiting outside the ribbon cutting, and it opens at noon, and all of a sudden there are a couple people here, a couple people there, and they break into God Bless America, and they open up their over shirts, and they had Sitch casket shirts on. So, some new things that we haven't seen before, which is what we hope for every year. So Sitch really knocked it out of the park. They gave away a casket at the show. And it was just, it was interesting to see the number of, foreign casket makers that were there. But I think Sitch really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, this was a note as well that I think you and I counted, there was as many or more foreign offshore casket makers as there were supposedly USA. Of course, if you look at the labels, a lot of those are made parts from China and other pieces from Mexico. Yeah. But I think that's here no there anymore. There's no such thing as a American casket company. With very few. Let me take that back. Let me walk that back.
Okay.
There are American casket companies, but the components and parts are primarily coming from overseas. So I'm sure I'll get some grief about that, but you know what? I've been shot at before, so it's not that big of a deal.
Well, we saw some other cool things. Obviously, the Darby family is always a wonderful greeting of hairdos and hugs. In the Triguard booth, Pierce Chemical did some reconstructive with a Hollywood makeup artist live in their booth. They did some reconstructive, which you actually live streamed on the Funeral Nation page. And then tell us about Pre-Need Builders that we saw there.
Yeah, Pre-Need Builders, Ellery Bowker, they were there, and they created a wonderful program for aftercare. And so Ellery continues to come into our market, providing some common sense tools for pre-need side, for reaching families. Again, I enjoyed seeing what he had to offer. Our company, actually, our little funeral business, is using it. So shout out to Ellery. Good job, buddy.
So moving forward, on one of the first episodes of Funeral Nation, we had Nick Astorino on, and Nick is kind of one of the leaders of the Embalmers Who Care group on Facebook and is an avid poster. But one of the things we talked about on that was the lack of embalming discussions at national shows. And I think if there was a downfall this year from the education side outside of the expo, and even in the expo, there wasn't a lot of embalming products there, but we did hear a lot of feedback from people on the seminar side where, embalming just, again, wasn't touched on.
Right. Interesting you say that. I think that from a few of the folks out, from my intelligence sources, only 7% of the presentations were about embalming. And this business still is very much rich and alive in a dead business, pardon the pun, for embalming opportunities. And that's what makes us unique. And I don't think we spend enough time on the cremation side of presenting a body prior to cremation. So that's a little something that was kind of an undercurrent. And it's going to be interesting how that's going to be addressed in the future.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets addressed. I mean, one of the other things that you guys did so well is I heard a lot of feedback from Dan's presentation on the financial health of your funeral home and how many funeral homes just don't do that checkup.
It's interesting that with the foresight companies, we're really starting to get in people sitting down and listening. Financially, things are changing. And Dan gave a great presentation how cremation could be overwhelmingly profitable. However, you have to do it correctly. You have to put your pricing correctly. And so at our booth, which was always fun, we were giving away money. Dan Assard, he loves making it. And, he had a security guard around that booth where we were giving out money. And I think that's going to be one of the first and foremost things that we need to talk about in the future is the financial health of funeral homes. And that's a serious subject. Not to go back to my friend over there, but you'll see in the near future that for funeral homes to stay financially healthy and viable, that it's time to step up and pay attention to what's going out, what's coming in, and correct pricing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some other things that were extremely positive, obviously, C&J Financial, American Funeral Financial. I mean, you have one of the biggest personalities at the convention in Chuck Gallagher in the American Funeral Financial booth.
Yeah, he got kind of upstaged this time, though. If you want to run that little promo along the way here, we had a lot more looks from a rookie. She came up there for American Funeral. And I don't know, from C&J, Chuck has got some real live competition. I know she turned red. And I'm talking to you, girl. You knocked it out of the park. But anyway, she knows what I'm talking about. We'll have to run that over there a little bit.
Overall, the convention was an A+. Some of the companies that we didn't see there, Save My Ink, Trey Ganem Designs, Keeper, DNA Memorial, the Help Card, all companies that were there last year and weren't there this year. And I think that, as we move forward in this profession, that's one of the things that funeral directors are very apprehensive about, especially on the technology side, of how many companies are here today and gone tomorrow. And, how do we fix that problem?
Well, I think you're probably the leader in this industry of showing where technology comes in and makes a significant difference. And you stayed with the business long enough for the business to grow and become viable. I mean, I saw you at the booth. I saw you all over the place. And frankly, that discussion, and look what we've done social media-wise at NFDA and everything else. But what most companies fail to do entering this market, we talked about it a few earlier, is to do their homework. They don't do any basis. They don't do any research. They do nothing and show up and say, oh, I have a product basically that was out 2 years ago. Funeral directors are going to love this. Families are going to jump all over it, and they spend X amount of dollars at a trade show and then never seen or heard from again because basically they don't do the work.
That's right. And one trade show is not going to build a business either. And that's one of the things that in this profession, you got to be persistent and be able to come year in and year out and be able to be visible. I mean, if you're not around, frankly, the profession thinks you're gone. And, that's one of the things that's extremely tough about this profession is just how present you have to be always and everywhere. The companies that aren't able to, again, it comes back to doing your homework, knowing the industry, knowing who the customer is, and how many times you have to be in front of them. And look, from the social media side, man, this has been 7 years I've been talking about social media, and it's now coming to that full circle where it's starting to click. People are getting it, and we're just like a train moving forward. But it is what it is, and we don't want to focus too much on the negative side. But hopefully some of those companies can get back in the swing because they've got great product. They got to do their homework, like you said.
Right. Well, another piece of this. My partner, boss Dan Assard, I think this was his 32nd show.
Wow.
So shout out to the grand old wizard there.
Yeah, he's the OG, baby. OG.
Yeah, he's paying attention. But going back to that, I think it takes time for something to resonate. And you remember, connecting directors, your company with Disrupt Media, just being there. Look, now they're having social media lounges. We're doing live interviews. Funeral Nation is a year old. I mean, who would ever thunk it? And so it just takes time, but credibility, homework, and listening to other people's ideas in the industry and embracing it together is how we're going to survive. Absolutely. You just can't come in here and make a big splash and think it's going to happen.
That's right.
It doesn't.
Absolutely right. Well, I want to touch on let's touch on one more thing, Jeff. And you said this in your article on the Funeral Commander, kind of your recap of the convention. You said it's about the relationships, not the productivity. And I think that this year that resonated even more than it has in the year past. This is the first year that my family has been with me. When I talk about my family, my wife and my kids at a convention, and it was amazing just to see how many people came up to finally meet my wife and my kids because they see them all over social media. But this profession is really made up of the relationships, and that's how things get done. You come to these shows and you have relationships with people, and you're able to.
So we've grown, and you see now how all that's changed.
It's amazing.
There's a lot of positive. It's a lot of positive. There was that hip kid, there 7 years ago, and everybody, what's that about? And now look, you have a family. This is becoming part of the regular conversation. Funeral Nation has just grown leaps and bounds beyond what we thought it would ever be. Yeah. And it's a recognizable brand. And so I foresee in our crystal ball in the future that social media will be as important as ever in our funeral business. And our relationships are first and foremost. And, relationships doesn't always mean that we're doing business together, but we're supporting each other as an industry. And I think that's as important as anything else out there.
Yeah, we can rise up together. We have to be able to move this industry forward and keep progressing. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, it's been 1 year, Commander, and it couldn't have been a better year for us in the show. And it's been amazing to see how you have built a massive brand in the Funeral Commander. I think there are more people that know you as the Funeral Commander than as Jeff Harbison, because they get it all the time. They're like, we love your show with the Commander and the guy that drinks and smokes. And it's just, it's been fantastic to see the progression of that and how you've built this. It's not really an alter ego because who you are. You are the Commander, but it's been fascinating, and I couldn't picture being on this year-long journey of a weekly web show for 20 minutes where we've been in separate countries and recorded. We've been in multiple different offices on the road, in hotels, in cigar bars. We've been all over the place, at the beach, and done this episode, and I can't picture doing it with anybody else. So very appreciative. Thank you for being able to put this together. And I cannot wait what the next 52, 104 episodes have in store, man.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. You're that young hip dude that came along. I'm the old crusty guy on this thing where I have a little mantras. I'm not going to tell you to go to hell. I'm going to tell you the truth, and sometimes that feels like it. But no, what people have found too is they thought that this show was going to be a tongue-in-cheek and kind of, off the wall. But we're bringing great content. We're seeing great sponsors come along. We've got a new one that'll be with us, I think, shortly. And we're just talking what everybody wants to talk about. And sometimes we get folks on there that won't go any other route. So I'm proud of it. You're a great partner. And this is our anniversary. We'll hook up a little later after with you.
I want chocolates.
Yeah, I got you chocolates. All I want is some Bengay and just a good night's sleep.
All right, man. Well, I think this wraps up episode 52. Next week, we'll be back with 53. And we're not going to tell you what's coming. You're going to have to watch to find out.
Yeah, he's well known. And I think he'll be a third timer on our show. So it'll be exciting to have Mr. P.L. back with us. But we won't say much more. All right, buddy.
That's it. All right, brother. Okay, everybody. Appreciate it. Engage with us on social media, facebook.com/Funeral Nation TV. Let us know your thoughts. It's been 1 year. If you've watched this episode and you have not engaged through a comment, it's your time to do so. We've been bringing you straight up value for a year. Let's get engaged. So until next time, have a great effing week.
Out here.